The power grid has no storage. No battery as you imagine. But those black and white stripes from the 1950s had already reached a physical dead end. The power grid has no storage. They could only hold around 20 characters, too little to identify an engine component, let alone an entire global supply chain. That is why the QR code was born. A quiet surface became a two-dimensional hard drive. Meanwhile, fiber optics glass the water battery. Wind and solar sound clean but behave like a leaking faucet. When you need them, they disappear. When you sleep, they surge uncontrollably. The grid cannot simply refuse extra energy. It must absorb it or collapse trying. So, engineers built something unusual, a high-altitude dump. This idea is older than it sounds. Early 20th century engineers noticed something simple. If you cannot store electricity, store what it can create. More precisely, height. They built two reservoirs, one low, one high. And just like that, the water battery was born. The pumping mechanism. Its mechanism is brutally simple, almost insulting. At night, when electricity is abundant, pumps run non-stop. They push millions of tons of water uphill. Imagine carrying buckets to the third floor endlessly. That is how the system is charged. But water does not like staying up there. Gravity is always waiting, patiently pulling downward. When power is needed, valves open, water accelerates downward. It strikes turbines, converting stored potential into power. The cost of friction. But nothing in physics is free. During pumping, friction and turbulence quietly steal energy. You lose about 20 to 30% just moving water. Sounds inefficient, almost foolish. Unless you realize the real game is not physics. The real game is timing. Energy arbitrage. At 2 a.m., electricity is nearly worthless. At peak hours, demand surges, prices explode. They release water and sell electricity at a premium. This is not pure storage, not in the strict sense. This is arbitrage. Buy low, sell high, using elevation as currency. Not gold, not oil, but water and gravity. A quiet form of energy, smuggling, perfectly legal. Geographic constraints. But this system has a weakness you cannot ignore. It depends entirely on geography. You need two massive reservoirs far apart in elevation. You need mountains, space, and sacrifice. Entire valleys must become artificial lakes. Not every place can afford that transformation. Even where it works, the cost is enormous. Dams, tunnels, turbines, pumping systems all must endure decades. One failure releases millions of tons of water. Not exactly a comforting scenario. From a physics standpoint, the system is not elegant. It does not compress energy nor optimize materials. It does only one thing repeatedly. It forces water uphill, then waits. Waits for gravity to repay the debt. Simple, but remarkably reliable. That is why, even with lithium batteries and new tech, water batteries still dominate global storage capacity. Not because they are modern, because they scale and they endure. But the story does not end there. As suitable mountains disappear, so do storage options. We begin to run out of places to hang energy. And when height is no longer available, we must go somewhere else. Somewhere darker, deeper, more dangerous. Water batteries are not magic. They are a compromise between physics and demand. A way to stretch a few extra hours of light. By suspending millions of tons of water in the air, just to delay an inevitable imbalance. And when mountains are no longer enough, what would you do next? Perhaps pump compressed air deep underground? Turn the Earth into a giant balloon waiting to snap. We'll get to that next time.